I think it was 2:17 in the morning when I first heard it. I know the exact time because I checked my phone maybe 10 seconds before. Couldn't sleep. Just lying there in the dark, listening to the wind push through the trees outside. Then something stepped on the porch. Heavy, slow, but only when the wind picked up, like it was timing it. Matching the noise, I sat up, didn't turn the light on. Just listened. Another step, then nothing. Wind died down, and whatever it was stopped moving. I waited, maybe 30 seconds. Wind came back, and so did the footsteps, circling, moving from the front of the cabin toward the side. I'm not the kind of person who scares easy. I'd been out here alone for almost 2 weeks by that point. Wildlife survey tech. Snowbird Mountain, western North Carolina, late October. The Park Service had me documenting nocturnal animal activity, setting up trail cams, checking audio recorders. Standard stuff, but this didn't sound like a bear. Bears don't stop and start like that. They don't move with intention. I got up, grabbed my flashlight. Didn't turn it on yet. The motion light outside should have already kicked on if something was out there. It's sensitive. Picks up raccoons, even large birds sometimes. I moved to the window, pulled the curtain back just enough to see. The light was on, but there was nothing there. Just the empty porch, the railing, my boots by the door. Then I noticed the shadow on the wall inside the cabin. Mine, from the motion light coming through the window. Except there were two. One was me, short, slightly hunched because I was leaning forward to look out. The other was taller, standing straighter, a few inches behind where I was actually standing. I turned around. Nothing. Turned back to the window. Both shadows still there. I stepped to the side. My shadow moved. The other one didn't. Not right away. It lagged, just a half second. Then it followed. I shut the curtain. Stood there in the dark for a while, telling myself I was seeing things. Tired. Hadn't been sleeping well since I got here. That's all it was. Then I heard the knocks. 3 of them, slow, deliberate, coming from the back door. Now, the back door opens onto a small deck. But that deck is 30 feet off the ground, built into the slope of the hill. No stairs. No way up unless you climbed. I didn't move. 3 more knocks. Same rhythm, same spot. I thought about opening it. I actually walked halfway across the room before I stopped myself, because I remembered what the guy at the general store told me when I first got up here. Never go outside after dark in these mountains, he'd said. Looked me dead in the eye. Don't care what you hear. Don't care what you see. You stay inside till sunrise. I'd laughed it off at the time. Thought it was just local color. Old superstition. But I hadn't gone outside at night. Not once. Not even to grab firewood I'd forgotten or chuck a noise. I backed away from the door, sat down on the couch, kept the lights off. The knocking stopped. I stayed awake till morning. My name's Ryan Keller. I'm 26. Studied wildlife biology at NC State. Been doing field work for about 3 years now. Mostly short-term contracts. This one was supposed to be a month. Solo post, decent pay, quiet. The cabin is about 40 minutes from the nearest town if you read generous with the term. Town. Closer to an hour from anything resembling civilization. No neighbors except Bill Crow, who lives about 2 miles down the logging road in an old trailer that has been there since the 80s. I'd met him once. Older guy. Friendly enough. Told me if I needed anything to just stop by, but when I mentioned I'd be working nights sometimes, he got quiet. Don't go outside after dark, he said. Same thing as the guy at the store. A lot of weird stuff happens up here when the sun goes down. I asked him what kind of weird stuff. He just shrugged. Said it was probably echoes and old mines playing tricks. Then he went inside. The trail cams started acting strange about a week in. I had them set up in a grid, covering about 6 square miles. Programmed to trigger on movement, snap a photo, log the time. Most of it was normal. Deer, raccoons, a black bear sow with 2 cubs, coyote once, but there was this one area, a ravine about half a mile northwest of the cabin, dense, steep sides, creek running through the bottom. Nothing went near it after sunset. I'm not exaggerating. During the day, plenty of activity. Deer trails crisscrossing, tracks everywhere. But as soon as it started getting dark, everything avoided it, like there was a line they wouldn't cross. I checked the cams 3 times thinking they were malfunctioning. They weren't. The audio recorders were worse. I'd set them up to capture ambient sound, supposed to pick up owl calls, coyote howls, that kind of thing. When I played back the files, most of it was wind. Branches creaking, normal. Except on one recorder, the one closest to the ravine. I heard footsteps, boots on leaves, uneven ground, a walking pace. I thought maybe I'd walked past it during the day and forgotten, but I checked my GPS log. I hadn't been anywhere near that spot in over 48 hours. The footsteps went on for 11 minutes, then stopped. I listened to it 4 times. The stride length, the weight distribution, the way the left boot scuffed slightly on every 3rd step. It sounded exactly like me walking. I went to see Bill the next afternoon. Brought him a 6-pack as an excuse. We sat on his porch. He drank 2 beers and told me about the fire tower up on the ridge. Abandoned since the 70s. Said kids used to hike up there and party till someone fell and broke their leg. Then he mentioned the old logging road that cuts past the ravine. Used to be a cemetery back there, he said. Small one. Family plots from the 1800s. Forgotten now. Overgrown. A lot of people went missing up here over the years, he said. Hikers mostly. Always the same area. Always at night. I asked him what he thought happened to them. He looked at me for a long time. Don't know, he said. But folks around here used to talk about night walkers. Things that mimic voices. Lure people off the trail. He finished his beer. Only rule is you don't go outside after dark. Long as you follow that, you're fine. I asked him if he'd ever seen one. He didn't answer. Just told me it was getting late and I should head back before sunset. I started going through old records, missing persons reports, incident logs from the Park Service. There were 9 cases in the last 60 years, all clustered in the same square mile. All disappeared at night. 3 of them were found. 2 alive, 1 not. The ones who survived wouldn't talk about it. 1 moved out of state. The other one refused to be interviewed and apparently doesn't leave his house after dark anymore. The one they found dead had been missing for 6 days. They found him in the ravine. No injuries. No signs of struggle. Coroner said it looked like he'd just stopped, laid down and didn't get back up. His wife said he'd ignored the warnings. Went out to get something from his car after midnight. It was 3 nights after I read those reports when I checked the cabin security camera. I'd set it up the first day, battery powered, motion activated, pointed at the front door. I pulled the SD card and went through the footage on my laptop. Most of it was nothing. Leaves blowing past. A fox sniffing around at dusk. Then I saw the time stump, 1:58 a.m. The door opened. Someone stepped out, wearing my jacket, my boots, my hat. I watched myself walk across the porch, down the steps, and into the trees. Except I was asleep at 1:58 a.m. I know I was. I remember that night. I'd gone to bed at 11:30. Didn't wake up till past 7. I checked my GPS tracker, the one I wear on my belt during hikes. It showed movement at 1:58 a.m., a straight line. From the cabin to the ravine. It stopped right at the edge. Stayed there for 40 minutes, then it walked back. I sat there staring at the screen. I checked the jacket. It was hanging by the door, dry, clean, but there was mud on the boots. That's when the knocking started happening every night. Not just the back door anymore. Front door, windows, side of the cabin. Always 3 knocks, always slow. Sometimes I'd hear my name, whispered, just loud enough to hear through the walls. Ryan. Different sides of the cabin, like something was circling. My radio stopped working. Then my truck battery died. No reason. I just used it the day before. Cell signal had always been spotty, but now it was gone completely. I thought about hiking out, just leaving. But it was a 4-hour walk to the main road, and I'd have to do most of it in the dark, so I stayed inside. Bill disappeared on a Tuesday. I went to check on him that afternoon. His door was wide open. Muddy footprints led from the porch into the woods, barefoot. His boots were still inside by the door. I called it in on the landline at the ranger station 20 miles south. They said they'd send someone. No one came. It started scratching at the door a few nights later. Not clawing, not frantic, tapping, rhythmic. I realized after a minute it was the same rhythm I use when I'm nervous. 3 taps, pause, 2 taps. Over and over. I do it without thinking, on tables, steering wheels. I'd never told anyone about it. The power went out on the 29th. Generators outside, around the side of the cabin. I'd filled it 3 days earlier, but I hadn't started it since. I knew I'd have to go out there if I wanted heat, wanted light. It was just after midnight. I stood at the door for 10 minutes, telling myself it was fine. It was just a generator. 30 seconds. Turn it on and get back inside. I unlocked the door. The motion light was already on. I stepped onto the porch. The footsteps started immediately, circling. Just past the tree line, I could see shapes. 4, maybe 5, standing between the trunks. All of them about my height, my build. I moved toward the generator, keeping my back to the cabin. One of the shapes stepped under the light. It looked like me, same jacket, same face, but stretched, wrong proportions. Eyes too far apart, smile too wide, it tilted its head. Ryan, it said. I didn't answer. I grabbed the generator pull cord, yanked it, nothing, pulled again. The other shape started moving closer. I looked back at the one under the light. It was still smiling. I let go of the generator, went back inside, locked the door, grabbed the camping stove fuel, the lighter fluid, everything flammable I had, poured it on the porch, on the steps, lit it. The flames went up fast, bright. The shapes stopped moving. I didn't wait to see what they'd do. I went out the back, climbed down from the deck using a rope I tied off earlier just in case, ran downhill, toward the logging road. I didn't look back. I made it to the ranger station by dawn. Didn't stop once. They sent someone up to the cabin 2 days later. Filed a report. Equipment loss. Accidental fire. I didn't tell them what I saw. They terminated my contract. Paid me for the days I worked. I went home, took a month off. Didn't think about it. Didn't talk about it. Then last week I was going through the files I'd recovered from the trail cams. Backed them up before I left. Thought maybe I could salvage something for my records. I found one I hadn't reviewed. From the camera pointed at the cabin porch. Timestamp, dawn, day after I left. The porch was still standing, burned but intact. And there were people on it, dozens of them, all standing perfectly still, facing the woods, all shaped like me. I scrolled forward. They didn't move, not for hours. Then the timestamp jumped, skipped ahead to last night's date. And in the final frame, one of them turned, looked directly at the camera, like it knew I was watching.